Rational choice theory, also known as choice theory or rational action theory, is a framework for understanding and often formally modeling social and economic behavior. The basic premise of rational choice theory is that aggregate social behavior results from the behavior of individual actors, each of whom is making their individual decisions. The theory also focuses on the determinants of the individual choices, methodological individualism. Rational choice theory then assumes that an individual has preferences among the available choice alternatives that allow them to state which option they prefer. These preferences are assumed to be complete. The person can always say which of two alternatives they consider preferable, or that neither is preferred to the other, and transitive. If option A is preferred over option B and option B is preferred over option C, then A is preferred over C. The rational agent is assumed to take account of available information, probabilities of events, and potential costs and benefits in determining preferences, and to act consistently in choosing the self-determined best choice of action. Rationality is widely used as an assumption of the behavior of individuals in microeconomic models and analyses, and appears in almost all economics textbook treatments of human decision-making. It is also used in political science, sociology, and philosophy. A particular version of rationality is instrumental rationality, which involves seeking the most cost-effective means to achieve a specific goal without reflecting on the worthiness of that goal. Gary Becker was an early proponent of applying rational actor models more widely. Becker won the 1992 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for his studies of discrimination, crime, and human capital. The concept of rationality used in rational choice theory is different from the colloquial and most philosophical use of the word. Colloquially, rational behavior typically means sensible, predictable, or in a thoughtful, clear-headed manner. Rational choice theory uses a narrower definition of rationality. At its most basic level, behavior is rational if it is goal-oriented, reflective, evaluative, and consistent across time and different choice situations. This contrasts with behavior that is random, impulsive, conditioned, or adopted by an evaluative imitation. Early neoclassical economists writing about rational choice, including William Stanley Jevons, assumed that agents make consumption choices so as to maximize their happiness or utility. Contemporary theory bases rational choice on a set of choice axioms that need to be satisfied, and typically does not specify where the goal, preferences, desires, comes from. It mandates just a consistent ranking of the alternatives. 501 individuals choose the best action according to their personal preferences and the constraints facing them. For example, there is nothing irrational in preferring fish to meat the first time. But there is something irrational in preferring fish to meat in one instant and preferring meat to fish in another, without anything else having changed. Rational choice theorists do not claim that the theory describes the choice process, but rather that it predicts the outcome and pattern of choices. An assumption often added to the rational choice paradigm is that individual preferences are self-interested, in which case the individual can be referred to as a homo economicus. Such an individual acts as if balancing costs against benefits to arrive at action that maximizes personal advantage. Proponents of such models, particularly those associated with the Chicago School of Economics, do not claim that a model's assumptions are an accurate description of reality, only that they help formulate clear and falsifiable hypotheses. In this view, the only way to judge the success of a hypothesis is empirical tests. To use an example from Milton Friedman, if a theory that says that the behavior of the leaves of a tree is explained by their rationality passes the empirical test, it is seen as successful. Without specifying the individual's goal or preferences, it may not be possible to empirically test, or falsify, the rationality assumption. However, the predictions made by a specific version of the theory are testable. In recent years, the most prevalent version of rational choice theory, expected utility theory, has been challenged by the experimental results of behavioral economics. Economists are learning from other fields, such as psychology, and are enriching their theories of choice in order to get a more accurate view of human decision-making. For example, the behavioral economist and experimental psychologist Daniel Kahneman won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 2002 for his work in this field. Rational choice theory has become increasingly employed in social sciences other than economics, such as sociology, evolutionary theory and political science in recent decades. It has had far-reaching impacts on the study of political science, especially in fields like the study of interest groups, elections, behavior in legislatures, coalitions, and bureaucracy. In these fields, the use of the rational choice paradigm to explain broad social phenomena is the subject of active controversy. The premise of rational choice theory as a social science methodology is that the aggregate behavior in society reflects the sum of the choices made by individuals. Each individual, in turn, makes their choice based on their own preferences and the constraints or choice set they face. At the individual level, rational choice theory stipulates that the agent chooses the action or outcome they most prefer. In the case where actions or outcomes can be evaluated in terms of costs and benefits, a rational individual chooses the action or outcome that provides the maximum net benefit, that is, the maximum benefit minus cost. The theory applies to more general settings than those identified by cause and benefit. In general, rational decision-making entails choosing among all available alternatives the alternative that the individual most prefers. The alternatives can be a set of actions, what to do, or a set of objects, what to choose/buy. In the case of actions, what the individual really cares about are the outcomes that results from each possible action. Actions, in this case, are only an instrument for obtaining a particular outcome. Both the assumptions and the behavioral predictions of rational choice theory have sparked criticism from various camps. As mentioned above, some economists have developed models of bounded rationality, which hope to be more psychologically plausible without completely abandoning the idea that reason underlies decision-making processes. Other economists have developed more theories of human decision-making that allow for the roles of uncertainty, institutions, and determination of individual tastes by their socio-economic environment. Confer Fernandez-Herga, 2008. Martin Hollis and Edward J. Nell's 1975 book offers both a philosophical critique of neoclassical economics and an innovation in the field of economic methodology. Further, they outlined an alternative vision to neoclassicism based on a rationalist theory of knowledge. Within neoclassicism, the authors addressed consumer behavior in the form of indifference curves and simple versions of revealed preference theory and marginalist producer behavior in both product and factor markets. Both are based on rational optimizing behavior. They consider imperfect as well as perfect markets since neoclassical thinking embraces many market varieties and disposes of a whole system for their classification. However, the authors believe that the issues arising from basic maximizing models have extensive implications for econometric methodology. Hollis and Nell, 1975, p. 2. In particular, it is this class of models, rational behavior as maximizing behavior, which provides support for specification and identification. And this, they argue, is where the flaw is to be found. Hollis and Nell, 1975, argued that positivism, broadly conceived, has provided neoclassicism with important support, which they then show to be unfounded. They base their critique of neoclassicism not only on their critique of positivism, but also on the alternative they propose, rationalism. Indeed, they argue that rationality is central to neoclassical economics, as rational choice, and that this conception of rationality is misused. Demands are made of it that it cannot fulfill. In their 1994 work, Pathologies of Rational Choice Theory, Donald P. Green and Ian Shapiro argue that the empirical outputs of rational choice theory have been limited. They contend that much of the applicable literature, at least in political science, was done with weak statistical methods, and that when corrected many of the empirical outcomes no longer hold. When taken in this perspective, rational choice theory has provided very little to the overall understanding of political interaction, and is in amount certainly disproportionately weak relative to its appearance in the literature. Yet, they concede that cutting-edge research, by scholars well versed in the general scholarship of their fields, such as work on the U.S. Congress by Keith Krehbiel, Gary Cox, and Matt McCubbins, has generated valuable scientific progress. The rational choice approach allows preferences to be represented as real-valued utility functions. Economic decision-making then becomes a problem of maximizing this utility function, subject to constraints, for example a budget. This has many advantages. It provides a compact theory that makes empirical predictions with a relatively sparse model, just a description of the agent's objectives and constraints. Furthermore, optimization theory is a well-developed field of mathematics. These two factors make rational choice models tractable compared to other approaches to choice. Most importantly, this approach is strikingly general. It has been used to analyze not only personal and household choices about traditional economic matters like consumption and savings, but also choices about education, marriage, childbearing, migration, crime and so on, as well as business decisions about output, investment, hiring, entry, exit, etc. with varying degrees of success. Despite the empirical shortcomings of rational choice theory, the flexibility and tractability of rational choice models and the lack of equally powerful alternatives lead to them still being widely used.